on the recording. So I'm with Tim Hamlet in front of Sullivan, and you'll be able to identify the other peaks better than me from here. Kinnegad?
Yeah, we can see Kinnegad, we can see Braebag, we can see Caithness, Sullivan. Just the very, very top of Coolmore there, I think, over in the way.
Excellent. And not a bad day, but a few metres. So we're just going to talk about the Mountain Rescue Team, Assynt Mountain Rescue Team. So first of all, can you just give an idea of what the patch that you cover, really?
Yeah, so this area, although it's called Assynt Mountain Rescue Team, it's all of Caithness and Sutherland, and it covers absolutely an enormous part of the northwest. I think we're probably one of the larger geographical areas in terms of mountain rescue teams. It's one of the most sparsely populated areas of Europe, actually. I believe there's probably more sheep on this area than there is people. Certainly in the winter months. In the summer, the population goes up with the tourism industry. Yeah, it's a huge area.
Yeah. And what are your kind of main call-outs, would you say?
Varied. Anything and everything, to be honest. People always think of mountain rescue and jump straight to the high-end technical rescue, ropes and harnesses and rock climbing type stuff. If I'm honest, that's not a particularly high percentage of our call-outs. Most of the call-outs are lower leg injuries, so you're thinking about a slip, a trip, an ankle break, a sprain, anything that means you can't walk off the hill yourself and you're going to need assistance to do so. Suddenly that becomes a mountain rescue call-out. While that's the majority of our call-outs, there is other things such as missing persons searches. We've got quite a number of long-distance walking routes that cross through large chunks of Sutherland. Thinking of the Cape Wrath Trail as one. And often people will not turn up at appropriate places on appropriate days, and then we get tasked with trying to find out where they've actually gone. So that can be quite a drawn-out process to try and figure out where they are, often with no phone signal across a lot of this area as well.
Yeah, the Cape Wrath Trail especially kind of goes quite remote areas, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and then there's also the other slightly, I suppose, less glamorous side of things, which is, verging into body recovery. So that obviously very sad for all individuals involved, but returning the casualty to their loved ones is another thing that we partake in. And quite honestly, although mountain is in the title, as soon as you're about 500, 600 metres off of the tarmac, suddenly it's going to be a mountain rescue thing that you're going to need help for.
Yeah, and there's not that many roads in there, an area like this, so it's a lot of the land, isn't it, that you're covering there?
Yeah, precisely. So it can be things like wind farm workers that have had an injury, or a forest worker, a stalker. It's everyone likes to jump to the conclusion of tourists in the area, and quite frankly, that's not many of our call-outs.
That's interesting. I was going to ask you about that. If it's a kind of, I read in the Scottish Mountain Rescue stats that came out recently for last year that the calls tend to go up in the summer across the 25 teams. But
that's definitely true. We are seasonally busier in the summer months, and there will be an element of the tourism industry involved in that. But likewise, particularly thinking back to just out of COVID years, there was a lot of locals who were suddenly enthusiastically getting back outside again, and the outdoors was the quote-unquote safe thing to do, and therefore everybody became interested in the outdoors. And I think, not being political, but the Scottish government more or less prescribed walking to the entire nation for 2 years, which was an amazing thing. It means that there's so many more people enjoying the outdoors. The hazard there is that a lot of those people haven't had the background in training, and therefore, if they do get themselves into difficulties, they've got less idea of how to then deal with that. So that comes with its own struggles, if you like. Yeah.
So you're kind of an emergency service. I suppose what people maybe don't realise is you're basically assisting the police, effectively.
Precisely that. So yeah, we are called out by the Police Scotland. Police Scotland are our taskmasters. So if you're ever looking for mountain rescue, you have to call 999, and then you ask for the police, and then you ask for mountain rescue. And I think this is often where things can get slightly lost in translation because people expect to ask for an ambulance. And then the ambulance will go so far and realise we can't do this job, and suddenly there's this time delay that's created. So if you're in a location where you think the ambulance crew is not going to be able to step off the tarmac, then it's suddenly a mountain rescue call. Yeah, and yeah, we like you said there, John, we're absolutely tasked by Police Scotland, and they are our insurers and our taskmasters. Essentially, although it's voluntary, we're working for them.
Yeah, and what motivates? I mean, the answer to this will be different for every individual, but what motivates the members of the team to kind of get involved and give up a lot of their time?
Do you know, I've reflected on this question a lot. And as you've said, I believe it is very different for each individual. Everyone has their own reasons for why they would like to be in a mountain rescue team. Talking from my own experience, I was rescued when I was 17. I've actually got a piece of titanium through my tibia after a tib-fib spiral fracture, which was at the very tail end of an ice climbing day when I was just getting into the sport. So we all make our mistakes, and we are the sum of those mistakes. I think what mountain rescue really gave me at that point, and what I really enjoy giving back to others, is that second release, if that makes sense, that life-giving life back. I was lying there with a broken leg thinking, well, that's it, my life's over. At the age of 17, I'll never walk or run again. And of course, since then, I've gone on to become a mountaineering instructor, run my own outdoor business, and run a marathon and all sorts of other achievements. And I felt like mountain rescue gave me that back. So for me, using the cliche of giving something back, I guess, is a lot of the reason why I'm involved. It's just, safety on the mountains is the kind of thing that you don't think about. No one goes out and plans to get rescued. But knowing that safety net is there is also, really, really grateful in this country, to be honest. So I guess a willingness and ableness to do that, and to be able to give back to the outdoor community, and to try and encourage and enthuse new people to get into the outdoors and all of its benefits. I think that's pretty much the reason why I enjoy volunteering for Assynt Mountain Rescue.
And what sort of time commitment do you give? I mean, you've got training, you've got call-outs that could be any time. What sort of commitment are you giving individually?
Wow. Counting up the hours becomes a bit of a saga. I don't like to think of it as counting hours, but yes, there is a figure associated to that. I more think of it as hanging out with friends and family. So, first and foremost, we're all friends in the team, and it's a joy to come to training. It's a joy to go on call-outs, to give back. So yes, the call-outs, while there might be, it used to be between 12 and 18, that figure's gone up slightly, and I would probably say between 20 and 25 nowadays.
Per year?
Year. So it's not overly frequent, but some of those call-outs can be long, drawn-out processes, like I said. Then there's also, I have various admin roles as well within the team, so there's all of that side of things and keeping everything working too. But the training commitments is once a month. So we're sitting here at the start of a weekend's training, but usually quite often it would be a one-day training for the weekend. And then we'll have either little Zoom trainings or little updates here and there, keep people interested in various elements of what's going on, whether that's medical, whether that's ropes, all the different aspects that you've got to hit across a 12-year calendar period. 12 months, that's the one.
And the other thing we were just touching on walking up here was the kind of fundraising side of it. You've got a deal with Helly Hansen, which has given you a lot of kit for the next few years, but what are the difficulties around kind of raising enough funds to keep everybody in kit and everything else that's needed to keep the team running?
It's always a challenge, and the challenge only seems to be increasing with the years as we get both busier and as a team, and the costs go up, as they are for everybody in terms of electricity costs, diesel costs, the list could go on. But running that voluntary service, the price has gone up, and the grant funding hasn't really gone up in the same match. Therefore, there's more of a burden on team members to fundraise, really, and more of a burden to just try and match those core costs. And then suddenly there's extra added costs in terms of getting a few new bits to put onto a new stretcher. Suddenly that's £3,000, or getting a new AED because the old ones have reached the end of their life, and suddenly that's an application.
I guess technology is moving on as well, isn't it? I've seen teams are using drones and things now.
Precisely, and we're incredibly lucky to have 2 drones gifted by an anonymous donor, both capable and fully equipped with night vision technology, speaker units, light. You can put different modules onto the drone, and it's a game changer. It really is a game changer. And to have that capability of flying in the periods when the majority of our call-outs are, in terms of late afternoon into early evening, the night vision capability is huge. Huge.
Yeah. And as far as the team goes at the minute, are you what sort of numbers do you have, and do you need more people to kind of put their hand up and volunteer? Or
Yeah, so currently we're sitting with 29 on the call-out list. Personally, we've got 6 probationers that are coming in for this year. I'd like that number to increase. Whether that's feasible, juggling all of the various different, funding resources, etc. There's obviously a cost associated to having more team members, so there's that challenge as well. But that, in turn increases our capability and our offer, if that makes sense. With it being a voluntary commitment, there's no obligation to be on call for a particular period of time. So when we shout, it's who's available, isn't it?
So your numbers kind of vary on per call out depending what availability is.
It does, precisely, and I'd quite like that number of team members available to go up slightly. But as I say, there's a cost implication there as well. I do foresee that we'll have another recruitment drive come the late autumn.
Yeah.
So watch this space on that one.
Great. That's fantastic, and I think we've got some team members are going to be coming up the hill to try and find us while I pretend to have had a heart attack here. So
that's right. Thanks for taking part, John. It's awesome.
Brilliant. Thanks, Tim.
No worries.